Good afternoon, Colonel Country, and welcome to episode 5 of Colonel's Corner Under Quarantine. Our guest today is women's soccer head coach, John McNichol. Coach, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Adam.
So, Coach, let's start off talking about the quarantine. Obviously, students are back in school this week, but it had been since March since a lot of us had been able to see each other due to COVID. Can you talk to us about what you've been up to in the last 5 months?
Yeah, it was definitely interesting. I mean, going into work that Monday after everything, it was kind of happening, getting emails saying, hey, be prepared to work from home for a considerable length of time. And I think the weirdest part about that day is it was absolutely beautiful out for March in Wilkes-Barre. And I remember walking in my car thinking, oh, this is kind of surreal, that what we're about to go through. And for me, actually, my master's is in healthcare administration. So for me personally, I had a little bit of a piece to it that I was interested in because of, my previous academic experience. But really, it's been a lot of time with my family, a lot of recruiting phone calls, emails, text messages, and a lot of time with our players virtually, which has been a lot of fun because I think it kind of gave everybody an opportunity. I think as much as we know each other, when you get put in a virtual area, you get to see some people's personalities come out that maybe aren't necessarily there all the time. We were able to play some games with trying to guess, different things, whether it was baby pictures with our team or things like that, just to give them something to do to provide that interaction with them. And it was really fun. It was neat to see everybody get together and do that and have that little bit of a break from what our reality was at the time. So from a professional standpoint, it was working like I normally would, but just in my home, which was nice because it allowed me to spend more time with my son, more time with my wife. I think, with this job so much, we work so many nights, so many weekends, long hours, that, our families tend to be the ones who we see probably the least. I think we probably see each other as a staff. We see our teams the most. So it's been a lot of fun to, really get these 5 months, especially with my son. He'll be 3 here in a week and a half. So just kind of watching him grow and, take walks with him every day, get to go outside, do those little things. It's been fun. We've done a lot of home projects. So we have like a new whole look to our backyard, some stuff that we've gotten done inside our house. Just spent a couple Saturdays ago putting more topsoil down to try to get some grass to grow. So unfortunately, the one part about quarantining when you're 34 is you're an adult. So you have some responsibilities that you have to do. So, but it's been great from a standpoint of being with my family. And, I think being with our team, I think they've handled it extremely well. They've really, anything we've asked them to do, they've done. I think the recruiting piece to it has been interesting because so many, we're fortunate with the way Wilkes handled everything. We've been able to have recruits to campus since July and continue to have a great plan moving forward. But the one part of it was, players who come to campus, they really, they want to meet our current student athletes. They want to see who they're going to be a part of on their team. And the thing that's been incredible with our group is if we have someone with a specific major or maybe where they're from, just a quick reach out. Hey, we have a recruit from your area. Would you be willing to reach out just so they have that idea of what, the student athlete's view of Wilkes is? Obviously they've heard mine, they've heard it from admissions, and every one of them, it's like, absolutely, coach, let's do this. We'll set up a FaceTime. We'll set up a Zoom. And it's been really great, I think, for us for recruiting for 21 and our 22 class, just because, they're getting that opportunity to see what our players are like. We're normally get to do that when you go to lunch with them, but it's been good. It was an adjustment at first, especially with my wife having to be home, trying to figure out teaching when I get my work done, who would watch our 2-year-old. Being a little boy, he's pretty much found everything he could do to climb in our house and jump off of. So it's been fun to be home with them, but it's been really great. This past week to see students on campus. They're really the life source of our university and I think college life in general. I mean, when they're back, there's just a different energy on campus. And just, seeing everyone, can't see them smiling, but you have a feeling they are beneath their mask based on the interactions that we've had with them. And, for us, taking a shift in the weight room, covering different facilities on campus, it's just been fun to see not only our athletes, other athletes and other students on campus. Because you can tell they're really excited about being back. So hopefully, it continues here.
Yeah, I had the shift in the weight room today, this morning from 9 to 12, and I got to tell you, it was nice seeing some familiar faces, even if I was under masks and I was just taking their temperature.
Yeah, Yeah, and I think that's been the neat thing about being back and having been on campus a little bit when we have had recruits since July is, I really do think our administration and leadership just did a great job during this entire process of allowing these things to happen. There are a lot of universities and colleges out there who are completely online, not able to be on campus, not able to have recruits on campus. And we're able to do that. Sure, it's different, but we're all together. And I think when you're all together, it just makes everything, so much better. Everyone just seems excited to be around each other, and it's been great to be back.
Now let's talk about the team. You've been the head coach now for 2 seasons. You've made the MAC Freedom Tournament both years, but if we get to play this year, it's going to look a little different as we're substituting Eastern for a perennially nationally ranked team in Arcadia and Lycoming. How do we keep the needle moving upward as far as the teams play while acknowledging that there's been, maybe a slight uptick in the level of competition that we'll be seeing in the last couple of years?
Yeah, pretty much my first year back was really the last year that it was, the MAC that I was used to when I was a former assistant at Kings, where, Misericordia was there and DeSales and the teams that we normally see, FDU, Del Val, Eastern was on our side, Kings obviously. So, it's one of those things for us where each year there's been that little bit of a change, adding Stevens last year, who was, played all the way into the Sweet 16 round, they're fantastic. Bringing Arcadia over there, they're a very good team. Lycoming made big steps last year. I think the year prior they only won 1 or 2 games. Last year they won 9. So, I think outside of the Centennial Conference in our region, I don't think there's a conference that boasts the depth that we have in our conference. I think when you look at not only the number of teams who played in the NCAA tournament, but teams who played from our conference in the ECAC tournament last year, we had teams who didn't make our conference tournament playing the ECAC tournament, which is an invitation tournament. So, in terms of the level of competition and what we see week in and week out, it's really good. And to be honest, that's what we want. We want to be able to play against the best teams. We want that experience. I think everybody wants to play in big games. And honestly, with Bruggerworth Field, you couldn't have a better setup for playing those games late at night. So we're really excited about, getting that opportunity to welcome those teams to our turf and kind of see us play. Fortunately for us, it doesn't take much for our group to get excited to play and train hard. They pretty much live in the weight room out of season. They're constantly working to get better. They make coming to work very fun and enjoyable for me because I know I'm going to get their best effort every single day. The upperclassmen leadership over the summer was impressive. We had small group FaceTimes that they were doing each week with everyone so that our first year players would just feel a little bit more comfortable when they get on campus. So, having our workouts over the summer, obviously this year is going to look very different in the spring, but we're fortunate that we're going to get to have some small group workouts here in the fall so we can really kind of get back into things. It's not going to be business as usual by any stretch of the imagination, but it's something, and that's something that we're really looking forward to. I know we've talked about, within our pods, having little competitions within practice, even though, we can't have contact, we can't do anything. Sorry. So it's one of those things for us where, how can we keep the competitive energy up? How can we keep that going? And I think for a lot of them, all they have to do is think about, hey, what are some of these top teams in our conference doing? Because if we don't work to that level, we're going to get left behind pretty quickly. So, we're fortunate to have a group that's extremely competitive, wants to be very good, wants to be a team that's, hopefully mentioned in the same breath as, Misericordia, Stevens and Arcadia, who are, typically in the top 25 every year. So it's definitely something we're striving for and looking to improve each and every day.
All right, now, Coach, it's been mentioned that there's a potential that the MAC will allow teams to play in the spring. Obviously, it'll be a little different than what we're used to. Obviously, one of the things for me that comes to mind is the weather, as it usually goes from warm to cold. Now you'll be going cold to warm. What are some of your thoughts on potentially flipping seasons and playing in the spring this year?
Yeah, I think the hardest part of the spring, I think weather might be a little bit of an issue, but for us, we always want to be playing late into November, so we're going to get that cold weather anyway. That's not a big concern to us. We have a lot of teams on campus. We're very fortunate with the setup we have with having the 2 turf fields. I think it's definitely going to put a strain on our facilities and our support staff and everyone, who's at all of our games. I think that'll be the hardest part. I think for our players, if we told them we were playing in July, they would be excited. So for them, it's just the thought process of viewing our fall as our spring and our spring as our fall. So, I think for us, there's not going to be a huge change. It's just going to change. It's just going to be an adjustment. And that's something we talk about all the time. It's not worry about things we can't control. It's control what we can control. And I think that's the biggest thing moving forward. So I think for us, it's just going to be, hey, tell us when and where to play. We're going to be ready to play. We know that spring sports, unfortunately, had last year taken away from them. Hopefully they're going to be able to get a full season out of it. Winter sports had last year cut short. We were fortunate to have all of last year. So, if it means practicing at 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night, we'll do that if it means getting an opportunity to play. So, it's one of those things for us where I think we all work really well together as a department. So I don't think it's going to be too different. Obviously, it will be different just in terms of the timing of everything with what part of the year it's in. But other than that, I think it's going to be pretty much the same. It'll be business as usual from a standpoint of playing games and preparing and getting ready. It's just going to be done a very different way.
So now you mentioned that you coached at Kings. You also played at Kings as an undergrad. You played soccer and baseball there, and then you were a graduate assistant. And now after spending time at Penn College of Technology, you've come back to Wilkes-Barre as the head coach at Wilkes. What is it like being on the Wilkes side after spending so much time on, we'll just say, the other side of town?
Yeah, it's great, to be honest with you. I love it at Wilkes. I had great years at Kings. I spent 4 years there as a student, 2 as a grad assistant, and 4 more years as an assistant. So I was there for 10 years. I met my wife there. So, there's a lot of good memories from Kings, but being at Wilkes is great. I absolutely love it. I love the campus. For me, being at Kings, or even when my wife and I were living downtown, like when we go for a run and watching, now what I know is called a Gateway to the Future plan at Wilkes, just all the enhancements and renovations to campus. And we would see that when we go running and like, man, they're really doing things right down there. And, it's really neat to be a part of it now. I think it would have been a little, I guess, more weird if it went right from Kings to Wilkes. Having those 4 years at Penn College, I think really, allowed me to kind of branch out, do my own thing, learn a little bit more about myself as a coach. And, I think it was my second year there. We opened up at Kings, and I remember that being weird. It just felt odd. But now, my first year we played there, it was comfortable because I'd already done it a couple of times. I think from a facility standpoint and everything that we're doing at Wilkes, we just do things really, really well. I think, it is different. I still have, my college coach is still there. So I keep in touch with him pretty often. But at the same time, I couldn't be happier to be at Wilkes. When I was at Penn College, I was making the 1.5-hour drive to Williamsport one way each day with my wife being a high school teacher at Myers. So, I always knew I wanted to be back in the Wilkes-Barre area to be closer to my family. Wilkes was always a school I had my eye on, just with the majors that they have and everything else that, the campus has to offer. It was like, all right, if I get an opportunity, that, would be a dream for me to be able to get back there. And fortunately it happened. I couldn't be happier to be at Wilkes. For me, it's a destination job. Hopefully it's the last job I ever have. I really love being here and couldn't be happier.
Now let's talk about you a little. Obviously, when you come into our office, or I come into your office during the day, we'll talk sports every now and then. Obviously, we're both big Philly guys.
Yep.
Go Phillies, go Flyers, go Sixers, I guess, go Eagles.
Yep.
When you were growing up, who was your favorite athlete?
Yeah, so actually this one might surprise some people. And for me, I don't even know if you guys know this, I was actually born in Baltimore. So I was a huge Cal Ripken Jr. fan. He was my favorite baseball player growing up. That was who I really followed. Those early Phillies teams were great. Loved watching them. Obviously same with the Eagles, but he was always kind of that player. And then, as I've got older, for me, the two that always will stick out are Allen Iverson and Jimmy Rollins. For me, they were my two favorite. They were must-watch TV for me anytime they were on. There's other guys like Brian Dawkins and Donovan McNabb and different guys. Peter Forsberg was one with the Flyers that, when they played, it was great to watch them. But for me, Iverson and Jimmy Rollins have always been kind of the two top dogs in my area. And then from the soccer side of things, it was as a goalkeeper. It was Oliver Kahn, who played for the German national team in Bayern Munich. I mean, he was my favorite goalkeeper to watch growing up. I wish I was as tall as him. I'm not even close, but for me, that was it. I love Philadelphia sports. It's been great to kind of have them on at all times of the day now. It's been a little bit different with quarantine, but it's great to watch. I always say that being a Philadelphia fan, we're 100% delusional. Every year is our year. Maybe one of these years it will be. It was great having the Super Bowl run 2 years ago, and obviously the Phillies in '08. I was fortunate enough I got to go to Game 4 of the World Series in 2008, and then actually on my 8th birthday, I was able to go to Game 4 of the '93 World Series. So that for me was always my best birthday ever. I peaked at age 8, but it was incredible going to that game. Even though they lost to the Blue Jays, I think it's voted as like one of the top 5 or 6 World Series games of all time. They lost 15-13. Unfortunately, Mitch gave up some runs there late. But it's just those memories, and I love going down to the ballparks, going down to the stadiums whenever we got a chance. It was easy. You just jump on the train. You were right there in 20-25 minutes. So I was fortunate with where I grew up, and I think there's really not a better sports town or stadium complex in the country to have everyone playing right there all the time. It's just a cool, neat setup, and I think kind of having that, I think, kind of pushed me who I am as an athlete. I'm short, so maybe that's why I like Allen Iverson and Jimmy Rollins, but they were kind of my two guys, and I love all those teams, and it's been really fun to watch. Hopefully now get my son into sports. I think he's starting to get into it a little bit. It's just tough. My wife's a Penguins fan, so I got to make sure that I get him on the Flyers side of things here.
Oh, yeah, I agree with that. You might be surprised to hear my favorite baseball player growing up was actually Barry Zito. I don't know why.
There you go.
I love the Oakland A's. I still do. You can't beat that Kelly Green and Gold combo. But
Yep.
Barry Zito, he liked one of my – I tweeted at him once, and he liked it, and I put that right up there as my pinned tweet. It's never coming down.
You just like that big curveball he had.
Oh, I tried to learn how to throw left-handed just so I could do that. So now you've been in the Wilkes-Barre area for the better part of almost 20 years. Unfortunately, I hope that doesn't hurt you too much for me to say that.
Nope.
What would you say is your favorite restaurant in the area?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of really good ones. For me, I'd say there's 2 that really are at the top of my list. One is Thai Thai downtown. I absolutely love going there. And the other is the Anthracite over in Plains. I think it's fantastic. My wife and I actually had our rehearsal dinner there in their like little outdoor area. So for us, that's where we love to go. I know she loves to go to Let's Eat, the Indian restaurant downtown, which is really good too. So, I think there's a lot of great restaurants in the area. But for me, those are my top 2. I really do like Let's Eat as well. But for me, Thai Thai and Anthracite are absolutely my top 2 favorite in the area.
For those of you watching out there, Anthracite Cafe's Buffalo Chicken Mac and Cheese.
Yes.
Oh, don't get me started. Amazing.
It's the best.
So now you mentioned you met your wife at Kings. Your wife was a standout athlete at Kings. Between the 2 of you, who would you say is the better athlete?
It's easy. I think if you ask anyone who knows the 2 of us, it's my wife. I hope my son gets her athletic ability and intelligence. I'm really hoping that carries over. She was a fantastic athlete. She was a great field hockey player. Apparently in high school was a very good softball player as well. She's a great athlete. I always loved watching her play. I think, the first time I met her, I was friends with some of the girls on the field hockey team, and like, who is that? Like, she was really good. And they were like, oh, it's Debbie. She just joined our team this year. She was a transfer. She started at Wilkes for a semester and decided maybe not to play field hockey, then ended up going to Kings. And I think she still has almost all their scoring records still for like seasons and careers. So, she was just a different type of athlete. To be honest, I always tell her, like, when she says I wasn't that good, I'm like, no, you're the type of person that I try to recruit. You're tall, athletic, fast. You understand the game really well. And, I think for me, it's fun. Like, we'll still go love a baseball catch. When she'd come to the shore with my family, she'd play wiffle ball with my brothers and I. So, I think my dad said it when I first met Debbie, that I always wanted a playmate. I guess when I was younger, I always wanted somebody just to go play with, and we'll go for bike rides together. We're constantly active. So for me, yeah, she's easily the better athlete. It's not even close.
It must be nice to hold a bunch of scoring records for a school and still think that you're not that good. I wish I thought that. The only record I held during my baseball career was most home runs given up in a season and most home runs given up in a career. So, I mean, I'll take whatever excuse I can get to get my name in that record book, you know?
That's right. Yeah, she loved field hockey. I mean, and then, I think a funny story, we went to it. She always told me she could throw a baseball 80 miles an hour, and I told her I didn't think she could do it. She'll probably kill me for telling this story, but so we were down to a Phillies game with some of my buddies from high school, and we walked by Speed Pitch, and she goes, "All right, let's go." I said, "What do you mean?" She goes, "Here, I'll prove it right now." Now, I think we were a year or two out of college, so she hadn't thrown, besides just having like a catch with me on the beach, hadn't thrown a ball competitively in like probably since she was a senior in high school. And, I obviously pitched, and I jumped in there, and I did what I needed to do. I threw exactly where I thought I was going to throw.
What was your number?
It was like 83 twice and 84. So I was comfortable with that. And she jumped in and went 79, 79, 80, turned around and just went, "See, I told you I could do it," and walked out like it was nothing. And I just kind of looked at her. I'm like, all right, like, you're just different. And then my buddies were going to go next, and they just kind of jumped out of line. They weren't really baseball players, so they were going to put up a low number. But, yeah, she's really competitive. I think that's what one of the things I really like about her, and it's in all aspects of life. She wants to be the best. And, I think for me, we have a lot of similar personality. I mean, some of our personality is not similar at all. But I think when it comes to being competitive and, just wanting to do things a certain way, really is what helps us get along very well.
Now, what's the coolest vacation you've ever taken?
My wife and I love to travel, so we've got a lot to choose from. We've had some really neat experiences. I would say our honeymoon, we went to Tahiti, so we stayed in the Hudson Bora Bora, and we really liked the island of Moorea. I got to ride a stingray, which was really cool. You just kind of put a fish in your hand, you hold onto their snout, and they take off, which was really fun. We've gone swimming with whale sharks in Mexico. We've done a lot. We did 2 cold weather trips recently that were actually pretty fun. I'm definitely more someone who wants to sit on a beach and, be in the warm weather. But we went to Iceland, which was really cool. And then not this past winter, the winter prior, we went to Finland. And absolutely loved it. We stayed up above the Arctic Circle, and one of the nights we stayed in an ice hotel. So we actually slept on an ice bed, and it was cold, but it was pretty cool. But then we got to go dog sledding when we were there. It was just really neat. It was it takes you back to being a kid. Everything is snow covered. So it's almost like kind of Christmas, like to me. The weird part is it's only sunlight when we went from like 10 a.m. till 2 o'clock. So it was like very early mornings, like getting to where you needed to get to. You'd start your day in the dark. You'd rush through the light, and then it was dark again. But I would say, going to Bora Bora and Finland were probably the 2 top trips we've ever done. We always try to do some sort of an adventure trip or something, that maybe we wouldn't get to do every day. And that's what we really try to build our trip around. So, we went to Florida one time. We got to swim with manatees, and, it's just a lot of things that you can do out there with ecotourism that are really fun. And, we're looking forward to eventually, I don't know when, going on another trip. I know we've really been trying to see the auroras. We've missed them both times. I just haven't had good weather. So I know my wife, that's kind of like her white whale. She wants to go see it. And I think, with her science background, being a chemistry teacher and really into environmental science as well, we always try to find something different on these trips, and it's been really fun. We both like to eat as well. So it's neat to try, foods from different cultures, and, we'll always try something. I think another funny story, we were over in Germany with my King soccer team, and Debbie came on the trip. I was not very good at German in high school. Not many people know this story. And I was like, oh yeah, I can translate a little bit of German. We sat down to eat. I was like, man, Schweineherze. I'm like, I know what this means. It's definitely pig. Can't remember what Herze is. I'm like, I think it's good. Let's order it. And then it dawned on me when it came out that Herze was heart. So we had pig heart for dinner the one night, and it basically looked like a big portobello mushroom with veins in it. And I remember she looked at me. She's like, "What are we about to eat?" I'm like, "I don't know. Let's just try it. Let's see how it is." And, I like that adventure side to her, that she'll try those things. And but yeah, we've loved our vacations, and I've been very fortunate to see some of the places that we've been able to see in the world.
Now, normally I finish off interviews by asking about a person's pet, but we discussed this earlier, and you do not have a pet. You do, however, have a son.
Yes.
So can you tell us about Johnny Jr.?
Yeah, he's great. He's got incredible hair, something I wish I had. He's just he's so much fun to be around. I think, when he was first born, he was actually born on a game day. And I remember just being there, like in the hospital. I'm trying to find out how my team's doing. I'm trying to see how my wife is. And we didn't know if he was going to be a boy or a girl. So for us, it was a surprise on delivery day. So, it was one of those things where we were like, oh man, we're having a boy, once he got there. And he's always just been very energetic. The hardest part about the whole quarantine is he stopped napping. So it was like get up at 7 a.m. with him, and it was just full go until he fell asleep between 8 and 9 o'clock at night. So that first month was a real adjustment for us trying to get on his schedule. And then how do we work our schedule into it? But it's fun. He loves to run around. He loves taking walks outside, which is fun. We do have some bear in the neighborhood, so we got to make sure he doesn't, get eaten it sometimes. But it's been really fun with him. He's just energetic right now. He loves cars, so that's what his birthday's coming up. And right now it'll just be me, Debbie, John, and I think my mother-in-law and father-in-law who live up here coming. So they'll just be the five of us. But we have like a little Hot Wheels birthday and Matchbox Cars themed party for him for the five of us. Unfortunately, my family, we're all keeping with social distancing. So, unfortunately, I haven't been able to see them. Thank God for, FaceTime and everything else. I think technology during this has really helped seeing those people. But he's a ball of energy. He's got really good at hiding. So it's sometimes we just can't find him. He's climbing on everything. So that also makes we're like, okay, where is he? Got to look high and low now. He used to just crawl under things, but he's a lot of fun. And, I think for us to be able to spend this time together as a family has been great. I think he's getting a little attached to me though. If I even go to throw recycling away in the garage, he's like, oh no, where are you going? You're not coming. I'm like, no, I'm just going to the garage, but I'll be right back. So, but yeah, it's been great. He's a ton of fun, a lot of energy. I know he likes to jump on to our Zoom calls with our team at the beginning to say hi to the girls. They're always just fantastic to him. I think they really, whether it's the trunk or treat or if he comes to a game, I know they're more excited to see him than me all the time. But they're incredible to him. I always say that he's got a great group of young women who he can really look up to because they're just fantastic people, and just the way that they are with him means a ton to me. Because that's something they don't have to do, but they've always done it since they've met him, and you can tell they're genuinely excited to see him. So I know for me, maybe I don't tell them that as much, but or as much as I should. How impressed I am with the way they are with him, and I know he misses being around them. He'll want to know like where my team is, and then he'll jump on the call. And he's got real into vacuums. He knows more about vacuums, I think, than anyone should ever know. And he'll ask them what type of vacuums they have. And I always say, which one's going to make the mistake of answering? Because then it's fixated on that one person. I know it was Haley the one night. So it was, what kind of vacuum do you have? Do you have this one? I have this one. Do you have this? Do you have that? And I'm like, oh man, I'm like, Haley, you shouldn't have answered. But, I think that's the type of team they are. And I think, for me, it's really important. They're just wonderful people. And, for him to grow up around the group that I have now, and hopefully we'll have in the future, I think is going to benefit him so much because they're just really great people. And I think they are incredible to him. And obviously he's 2, so I really he just wants friends right now. And unfortunately it's tough. He can't be around people, but he's figured out how to get into the iPad that we have. So we say he prank calls people, but he knows how to get into FaceTime, and he'll call his grandmother and his uncles and like laugh and hang up and then call the next, and we're like, oh, like we'll hear him giggling from the other room. We're like, what is he doing? And we go in there and they're like, is he doing this on purpose? We're like, yeah, he is. So, But he's been great. It's been great to be with my family. It's exciting to be back and see everybody too, though. So.
All right, Coach McNichol, that's all the time we have. I want to thank you for joining us today and wish you the best of luck as you head into fall practices.
Awesome. Thanks, Adam.